Hi everyone, this is Andrew Tan. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have my 11.3 Mac M1 computer in front of me, and lots of people have been saying that they regret upgrading to 11.3 because they've lost the ability to sideload. And I do have a video where I show you how you can bypass this using a RIC-Pack and AppDB, but a lot of people won't actually like doing that method because it opens some security risks. So today I'm going to show you two methods. The first method is going to be really simple. It's going to straight downgrade you down to 11.2.3. The other method is a little bit more complicated. It involves installing onto an external drive. I'm going to list these in the AppleGamingWiki website. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description. This is a full text guide, and if there's any new information on how to downgrade or sideload apps on the M1 Apple Silicon Mac, it will be listed here. So please check this link in the description. So the first method that I'm going to show you is how to install the 11.2.3 update over your 11.3 update so that you can downgrade and you shouldn't be losing any kind of data. So I'm not sure what the future updates will bring, and I'm not sure this will be possible using the future operating systems, but certainly with 11.3 this should downgrade you to 11.2.3. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for this Mr. Macintosh page. This brings you to an installer package, and what we can do is download the 11.2.3 version, which is the last version which allows sideloading. Once that's downloaded, we can double click the install package, and basically what that will do is unpack the installer into the applications folder, and then we have the install macOS Big Sur here. And then what we can do is double click on this, and then we can press continue and agree and agree, and I'm going to select the internal Macintosh HD and press continue and press continue. I'm going to type in my password, and it's going to install over my 11.3 installation and bring me back to 11.2.3. So just let that install, and we'll come back to this in a moment. So as you can see, it's reloaded the windows that we had open before. We're back on 11.2.3, and it's even created some relocated items. So I'm assuming these are the configuration files, which are kind of a holdover from 11.3, and they've pushed them into here. So these are just, let me see, yeah, some settings that we don't really need anymore. And now I'm just going to check my iMazing, the method that I normally use. If you don't know how to use iMazing, I've got a tutorial which I'll link in the description and also in the corner of this video now. So what I'm going to do now is to just demonstrate that I can get a game like, say, Genshin Impact working. So I'm connecting to my iPhone 12, which I'm actually recording from right now. So I've got my list of applications open. It's connected wirelessly. I'm just going to type in Genshin, and what we're going to do is download this. So we're just going to let this download onto the computer first. So once Genshin Impact has downloaded, what we're going to do is click on the application, control click on here, and then export IPA. I'm just going to put it in my downloads folder here. Once that file has been moved into the downloads folder, I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to install, and it's going to move itself into the applications folder. So this is the 1.5.0 version of Genshin Impact, which is the latest version as of today, which is the 2nd of May 2021. Okay, so now I'm just going to run Genshin Impact here. And as you can see, this is running successfully. So as you can see, this application is running correctly. If I type in my username and password, we're going to log into the game properly. What I'm going to show you now is a secondary method to do this, because if we use this method, it means that we're going to be stuck on 11.2.3 forever, and that's not necessarily good for the Mac long term because we'll miss out on important security updates and features. So I'm going to show you an alternate method to install this on an external USB drive. So now what I'm going to do is to show you how to install 11.2.3 onto an external drive. And the main advantage of this is that we can boot into this into the future whenever we wanted to, and also keep the internal drive updated as much as we want. So the first step that we have is to go to the Mr. Macintosh website and download the installassistant.pkg for 11.2.3. So we're going to put this into our downloads folder and then run the package installer, and then what that's going to do is to put the install macOS Big Sur into the applications folder for us, and then we're going to use this to make a bootable USB drive. This is the 11.2.3 installer, and then basically what we need to do now is follow Mr. Macintosh's fantastic guide, which I'm going to link to in the YouTube. And the difference between this particular guide and the one I'm doing now is that instead of installing 11.3, which he's installing the USB drive here, I'm going to install 11.2.3. So the next thing we need to do is to insert a USB drive with enough space to take this install media. And I've got this SanDisk here. And what I've done is I've control clicked and then pressed get info to get this up. And what we're going to do is to change the name of this to my volume so that this matches the naming from the command that we're going to paste in a moment. We need a 16 gigabyte stick. I have a 32 gigabyte stick installed here. That's fine. What I'm going to do now is go into terminal. And then we're going to copy and paste this command into here. And then it's going to ask for the password for the computer. And then I'm going to press yes here and then let this erase. And you can see that that disk is gone. It's going to be renamed and the 11.2.3 installer is going to be installed onto that drive. So just let that run for a bit and then we'll come back to that in a moment. And now that that's complete, we can now shut down the computer. So now I've got my MacBook Air M1 Apple Silicon laptop in front of me, and I've got the USB flash drive, which I've installed the 11.2.3 installer onto, and I've got it attached to this USB-C hub here. And we're going to take this computer from the off position, and then we're going to put it into the boot recovery menu. And that's done by holding down the power button until the startup options appear here. So we just continue to hold until the startup options appear. So we can let go once it says loading startup options. This is a little bit different from the option method that was common with the Intel Macs of the past. We have an options menu here which we can click, but we don't want to continue here. What we want to do is wait for the USB stick to be mounted in this menu. So we waited for a few minutes and we now have the option of loading into the internal solid state drive, which is the normal computer, which is 11.3 installed on it, or we can boot into this installer, which I'm going to do now. So now it's asking me for my administrator password, so I'm just going to type that in. So this differentiates itself from the normal recovery menu because we have this macOS Big Sur installer just popping up here, which normally wouldn't appear. And we're just going to agree to the terms and conditions. And now we have the ability to install macOS Big Sur on the internal drive. But what I'm going to do is use this solid state drive here and install 11.2.3 as a bootable drive. And this is going to allow us to basically boot into a sideloadable operating system whenever I want. I'm just going to plug it into this USB-C hub. So because this solid state drive hasn't been initialized yet, I'm going to use disk utility to wipe it. So I've got the solid state drive here. It's called backup. It's formatted as an NTFS drive for Windows. I'm just going to erase it to something that the computer will recognize properly. Put it into an APFS drive there. So now that's erased, I'm going to press done here, and I'm going to quit out of disk utility. And we're going to go back to install macOS Big Sur. Instead of the internal drive, I'm going to install it onto this untitled drive. So all we need to do now is press continue, and I'm going to set myself as the owner, press continue, type in my password. So it's now installing onto the external solid state drive, and that should be version 11.2.3. So just let that install and see how that goes. So now that the bootable installer has installed onto the solid state drive, we're just going to continue as if this is a brand new computer. So now I've booted in, I can see that this install macOS Big Sur is this USB drive here. I've got my Anchor drive here, and that contains the internal solid state drive. So if I have a look here, the Macintosh HD is the internal solid state drive, which is still there. I can still see my old user there. But here I've got my actual user here. So if I look at this path bar, I can see that everything's on this external drive. Even though it's showing up as orange, it knows that it's a removable USB drive. So the whole point of this is that we have a version of 11.2.3 which we can boot into at any time that we want. I have a relatively large solid state drive here. You can use any size you want. You can sideload games like Genshin Impact very easily, and this will continue to function in the long-term future, even if you do the security updates for your internal computer here. And all you need to do to switch between the two devices is you can either hold down the power button, and then when the USB external USB shows up, you can log into this, or you can also do this. You can also go to the startup disk application here. We can type in our password, external, and then you can choose to switch between the internal drive with macOS 11.4, well it should be 11.3, but 11.4, and then 11.2.3 here. So you can just switch between them. I'll just show you. I'm going to switch back to my normal drive now. So this is back to my normal user. I can see that the internal drive is showing 11.3 here, which doesn't allow the normal sideloading methods. So now we can switch between these two particular versions just by using that startup disk or holding down the power button. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.